like it used to, and I need another notch on my belt. If you're looking for a six-pack, muscled up kind of man, better look somewhere else. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Well, we gotta work a little bit more on that intro, but hey, this is Aaron Ludwig here, Papa Bacon, coming to you live on December 4th, and you're watching Dads with Bacon Talking Sports. We're gonna kick everything right off the bat. We're gonna start a little late here. We'll bring on Adam, Troy, and TJ. How's it going, fellas?
What's up?
Howdy.
Good. Let's do this.
Yep. Everyone have a nice Thanksgiving.
Oh, I had a great Thanksgiving. The Cowboys finally won.
Had a great Thanksgiving. Didn't care about really watching that game.
I had a better Thanksgiving than Matt Eberflus.
Amen.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say pretty much every single one of us did. Had a better Thanksgiving than every Bear fan in America, for sure. It's amazing. You know, we'll get started on some of that talk, and we'll kick things off with a little, since we got 5 weeks left, a little NFL MVP talk. But my goodness, what could that team be right now without Matt Eberflus as head coach? That's the scary part. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they'd be dramatically better, but I think, what are they, 4-8 right now? I think they'd at least be 6-6, maybe even 7-5.
I mean, they would have probably won that game, right?
They probably would have beaten the Packers a couple weeks ago. I mean, you know, it also
had
crazy,
to do with Shane Waldron. With all due respect to Shane Waldron, I'm sure he's a great guy. Man, you suck as an offensive coordinator. And I mean, this isn't me. I'm a Patriots fan, and I'm saying it. This is like I'm a football fan in general. Like, I've become a Dan Campbell fan, a Lions fan. The Lions go to the Super Bowl. I have been plugging the Lions on here for weeks.
Yep, you have.
But again, Waldron, not exactly going to unlock Caleb's potential. A defensive-minded head coach, probably not unlocking his potential. I mean, Belichick did unlock Brady, but that was also a lot to do with just Brady himself and his offensive people. But Waldron wasn't the answer. Eberflus clearly is the answer. Eberflus should have been gone last year. Just clear house. Poles needs to go. And if Combsy's on here, Combsy, I think you and I should buy the Bears, and we'll run the whole freaking organization better than they are. And I'm sorry, it comes from the top. And here is what. So Combsy and I co-manage a fantasy football team together, and we were he has his Combs and Fitz podcast, and it's kind of interesting. And I mentioned in their chat, as they were talking about the owners and everything else, I said, look what happened with Washington when Snyder left.
Yeah.
And again, probably a really nice guy. As an owner, you sucked. You couldn't get anything to happen with that team. He leaves, the new manager comes in, and now about a month plus ago, you heard a report. Free agents are going to flock to go play for that organization that had a stink on it for years. Snyder's gone. Queens looks great. Daniels was the best quarterback in the class. I said that during draft season. I stick by it. And you have Cliff, who's going to be gone in the offseason. He'll find a head coaching job somewhere. But it's an organization that players want to be a part of now because of the positivity on the team. So there's a lot more things the Bears need to do. But Washington's been completely revitalized, and the Bears need to just get rid of Poles, get rid of everyone else, and say, we're putting a president of football operations in charge, and owners are going to be hands off. They will be cheerleaders, and how much money do you need to get the best people?
You know, and I'll kind of piggyback off of what you just said about the Commanders. I mean, being in the D.C. area, dude, people are wearing their Commanders gear with pride now. Like, you rarely ever saw that when they just completely sucked. They're just like, oh, we lost the game, whatever. Like, they actually are taking pride in this because of the new ownership, and people are actually buying, Commanders gear off the shelves. Where buddy of mine went to the field to get a jersey from the store there, all sold out. Everything was sold out of that stadium, and I'm just like, it's the Commanders. They suck. They lost to Dallas. We suck. Like, what the hell? And he's like, no, dude, like, this team is the new revival. And I was like, okay, watching the Tennessee game. Yeah, okay. That shows something.
It feels fresh, right? I mean, that's what's going on. It feels it's a fresh start. And that brings me back to what Adam was saying, too, with Eberflus being fired last year. Like, Why is that Bears organization just stuck in this rut of not doing a clean, fresh restart at every spot? Instead of 1 year we'll fire the GM, then the next year we'll fire the coach, and then we'll draft the quarterback, and then we'll fire the GM, and then we'll fire the coach. And like, what are they doing? What like?
Yeah.
There's something in the water in Chicago.
Well, and you know, I will say I saw a video earlier in the week where, of course, it was from a Packer fan who was saying how the day they got rid of Eberflus was about as hard of a day as when they got rid of Cutler. From a Packer fan perspective, you know, that was a dumpster fire for years, and we were there for the ride. I mean, we were enjoying it, you know. So I'm not going to say I'm happy that Eberflus is gone, but as a guy who gets along with Combs and likes Combs, and I like Brad, our buddy Brad, who's a Bear fan here on the show, I feel bad for them. I mean, I don't feel bad for the organization, because that, you know, and Combs has said it numerous times. When one of the first shows he ever did with us, he talked about that he has said on their podcast that he wants to put a stake through the heart of Virginia McCaskey because she's a vampire or something like that. And I'm like, oh, whoa, okay.
He said it.
But he, you know, but he is right in the sense that it's a problem from the very top. And I know I'll say this real quick, and then we can, you know, move on or whatever. But I like to bring this all back to the Packers at some point. And what
a surprise.
But I know. But this was a problem with the Packers back in the 80s. And they continued to have team, you know, and I mean it's different obviously for the Packers because they don't have an owner, so they can't just fire the owner or force an owner to sell the team like they did to Dan Snyder. But it starts with, in our case, the board of directors and then the president of the team. And I remember back in the 80s, we had a guy named Tom Bratz who kind of did everything. And the best thing that board ever did was get rid of Bratz and bring in Bob Harlan, who took over as team president. And one of the first things I remember him saying was, I'm not a football guy. I was brought in here to handle the business side of this organization, and that's what I'm going to do. And what did he do? He went out and hired Ron Wolf, one of the greatest GMs in the history of football, in my opinion, who then he focused on the football. Harlan focused on the business. And when you have leadership like that understands, okay, this is my weakness, I need to go and find somebody who can, you know, fill in for that or make up for that.
Yep.
That's where this organization, the Packers, turned around. That was the beginning of the resurgence of what we had from back in the 60s and everything. And it took us 20 years. So, I mean, I think a lot of teams always end up, I mean, look at the Lions. The Lions went through it for years. You know, when they had who was Matt Millen as their GM, and you were like, what the hell is this guy doing? I mean, but he was a friend of the Ford family. And so the Ford family went, you know, and until they got their heads out of their butts there and made those changes, and it took them a while longer than just firing Matt Millen. It was a bigger problem. But, you know, yeah, I think the Bears are going to turn it around, even though I'm not necessarily happy about that as a Packer fan.
Correct.
But I think getting rid of Eberflus was the first step. Yeah, they need to get rid of Poles, you know, and that's where you do wonder. I think Fox Sports on their pregame show on Sunday talked about it, and Jay Glazer had on a chart of like, here are all the possible offensive-minded coaches that you could hire, and here are all the defense. And Belichick, of course, has been talked about. But, you know, one of the things Glazer mentioned, I think it's a good point, is, you know, if you have a defensive-minded head coach and you start to become good, then what happens is you end up, a lot of times your offensive coordinator is going to get grabbed by some other team or whatever. If your offense is doing well, you know, is that what's best for Caleb Williams, or is it best to find an offensive minded head coach, somebody who's there? Like, again, look at the Packers. They went out and got LaFleur, who's an offensive minded coach. And now you have him working with Love and, you know, and all that stuff. So I have a feeling they're going to look for someone. If they're smart, they look for somebody who has an offensive mind. And then
just
they
do what
can,
Washington did.
you know.
If you want a defensive head coach like Dan Quinn, go get the super offensive heavy Cliff Kingsbury. Let Cliff worry about Daniels. Quinn's still going to be there. Quinn's still going to invest in Daniels, invest in him as a person, invest in him as a player. But he's going to be like, you know what? You know how you want to run things. Cliff's going to help you do it. Seen you in college, know what you're about. I'll handle the defense. I'll boost you up. I'll give you the right play calls. Go develop your game. And again, this is my guess. I'm not part of the Commanders organization.
Yeah.
But like,
You're
again,
not?
that just... No, I could tell that organization. Like, one thing that owners have to understand, if you want a business to succeed, you have to invest in your product.
Yes.
And you can't
100%.
hire the wrong people. I'd go in and work for $100,000, an apartment by Gillette Stadium, and completely turn the Patriots around. Why? Because I give a shit about the people I'm bringing in. I don't want to fire anybody. Let me make this clear. I'd clean fucking house. I don't think we don't even have a GM. And I was bitching about the Wallace pick. Should never have been that high. I agree with 3 of our first 4-round picks. So again, they're getting the drafts right. But Alex Van Pelt is not our answer. He was brought in for Drake May. Same reason he was brought in for Baker in Cleveland. He was brought in to develop a quarterback. Watch Van Pelt get the boot, and I'm bringing in, give me Ben Johnson, give me somebody that I can take an offense around. I need to go get some of these free agents. I need Polk to be a number 2. This team refuses to use Polk. Okay, the Bears, you have the best offensive weapons around Williams. You haven't done anything with them. Eberflus goes, Waldron goes. This looks like a completely different offense. You have to invest in your people and know what they're strong at, where they're weak at, build them up. This to me seems like simple business. I don't know about you boys.
It does. I agree with you.
I mean, and I would not. It would not surprise me one bit at the end of the season. Kingsbury's gone out of DC and goes to Chicago. I mean, they are saying he's kind of the front runner now to go to Chicago. If that happens, cool. I mean, he knows Caleb Williams. He coached him in college. Maybe that's what Caleb needs, is that coach to hold his hand again and paint his nails, just like he did in college. But outside of that, you know, I do feel kind of bad for some of these guys who came over to the Bears. I mean, the Bears got some hefty players that can help that team out, but it sucks because you let go of Justin Fields. Now that's, you know, that's always going to be something that comes up. They let go of Justin Fields. They bring out Caleb Williams. Justin Fields goes to Pittsburgh. Now he's sitting behind Russell Wilson, who is hot. You know, there's just so much going wrong with that organization. And, you know, I remember when I was growing up, when they went to the Super Bowl against the Colts. I mean, never thought in my life I would say, dude, the Bears are awesome. And when that happened, I was like, dude, I love the Bears. Devin Hester, Rex Grossman, like all that. They lose. Cool, whatever. But that was a team that a lot of kids looked up to because that was smash mouth football when they were playing. Now it's more patty cake. Who's going to be the best player out there? And it's just the one player that can do something for that team.
Let me say this about the Steelers, and then we'll head into our first topic of the night that I know Aaron wants to get us into. Steelers, Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season as the Steelers head coach. 18 straight winning seasons. Belichick can't even say that. Mike Tomlin is perennially underrated and underappreciated. If he got fired, I would go to Robert Kraft. I'd be knocking on his freaking door saying, you get a blank check and bring the man here. That is one of the most underrated coaches in football, my opinion.
Yep.
So,
couldn't agree more.
Okay, guys, let's go into the first topic. And like I said, I wanted to kind of touch on this a little bit because I was thinking about during the day the NFL MVP race right now. We've got let's see, and I'm going to pull up the odds. I think this is from it's from The Athletic, but I believe they took their odds from MGM, BetMGM or whatever. So right now we got Josh Allen at minus 250, Saquon Barkley 300 plus 300, Lamar Jackson plus 1100, Jared Goff plus 1100, and then Patrick Mahomes number 5 at plus 2000.
Mhm.
You know, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up is because I kind of feel like this is one of those years where I feel like most years there are a few different players that really, really stand out. Like you can look at the top teams in each conference and go, you know, these guys, each of these teams have guys that to me are could easily win it.
Yes.
And I'm looking right now, and the only ones, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong or what you think here. I really do feel like it's really down to a 2-man race between Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley.
Correct.
Like I look at these teams. Patrick Mahomes, yeah, they're 11-1 or whatever they are. He hasn't impressed me at all this year.
Your
Lamar
defense
Jackson,
is the MVP.
Yeah, exactly. Lamar Jackson. You know, that's the other thing. We'll get into this maybe more when we talk about the playoff picture too. Is that while I do think I agree with you, Adam, that the Lions are, to me right now, would be the favorite to win. Especially to win the NFC. I think even though Buffalo is not the number 1 seed right now in the AFC, I think I would take them over Kansas City. But even if you look at Detroit, as dominant as they have been at times this year, there really is no one on that team that stand like Jared Goff. I know I just mentioned is like number 4 on this list for MVP, but I wouldn't vote for him. I mean, he's had a very nice year, but it's not a dominant year. It's not something where I go, holy crap, watch out for Jared Goff. You know, I'm worried about him tomorrow night against the Packers only because he just doesn't really make mistakes, but not because I feel like he's going to torch the Packers for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns.
He's not Jameis Winston.
He's not James Winston.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry you said that. I'm like, I know it's a made up lie, but I'm like, Winston just went for 465 and 3 interceptions. Some ridiculous stat.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
the dude's praying not to throw any more pick sixes. That was freaking hilarious.
That was that cracked me up.
In Winston's defense, the dude had to sit there and attempt Hail Marys and comebacks. So in his defense.
That was so good though.
Anyway. Aaron,
you know what? And he is a perfect. Hold on, he is. Since you brought up Jameis Winston, he is a perfect example of a guy. And I can't say I can't take credit for this observation. This is from another guy I heard on the radio. But if you look at his background and the background of Deshaun Watson, there are similarities there between mistakes that both of them had made.
Yep.
And yet.
But one of them learned from him.
That and he has endeared himself to the media in a way that people kind of have forgotten about some of the stupid shit he's done in his past. Now, granted, he doesn't have a laundry list of women who are accusing him of sexual, inappropriate sexual behavior. But he has, I think he groped an Uber driver one time. I mean, he's done stupid things that you're like, some guys, their careers would be ruined by it. And this guy just comes out and says crazy, funny stuff. And you're like, God, I kind of like this guy, you know?
Yeah, it's hard not to be entertained by that dude. It really is.
Yeah, exactly. Unless he's throwing 3 interceptions for your team and, whatever. But
what he isn't is he's not the MVP.
No, he's
not.
Far from
this
true. And that's where we come back to.
Thanks
for bringing it back. Yes, it is.
And
go ahead. Dave.
I think Josh Allen sealed it in the snowball. The pass and receiving touchdown to himself is the best football play I've seen all freaking year. Because that is
insane.
Something special. Pass to Cooper, back to Allen, and he rushes it in. What a play! See,
just like they drew it up, Adam.
Here's the thing with Josh Allen. Josh Allen is doing what Mahomes has done for the last several years. He's taking the entire team on his back with shit weapons around him. He's made the team better. He's gotten the team to the playoffs. He's taken the team legitimately on his back. Yes, you have James Cook. He's not a megastar. You've got nobody at wide receiver. You haven't had anybody at wide receiver. He's taken the entire team on his back. Kincaid's been injured. He's done things that should clearly win him the MVP.
Yep.
Here's the thing. If Barkley breaks the all-time
Mm.
rushing record, the award is his.
Even
Now,
if it's
FanDuel-
17 games,
Huh?
even if it's 17 games,
Barkley could do it in 16. He's
that's
on
what I'm
another
saying. Does
year
it
of
matter if it's in 16
No.
or 17 though?
No,
Okay.
I don't think it is, because now you're comparing you're pairing LT's era and AP's original era with this era and how pass happy and run happy the quarterbacks can be. Quarterbacks weren't accounting for that many rushing yards back in the day as they are today, and Barkley's doing it with a rushing quarterback. Matter of fact, with all due respect to the FanDuel social media crew, they love to instigate some really stupid posts that just don't make sense. But they had a legitimate one up today. Allen versus Hurts. Why is Hurts not being talked about as MVP or something? Good stat lines on both. And I'm like, because Hurts hasn't brought the team on his back. He hasn't need to. He's doing what Goff is doing. He's being a great quarterback and utilizing his players. Allen's done everything for that team and more. It's
And the Eagles-
Allen, it's
The
Barkley.
Eagles weren't
That's
projected
it.
to get third in their division either.
True.
No. Bills are going to – it'll be a Bills-Ravens – we'll get to this in a second.
Yeah.
I do think Allen has the MVP pretty much on lock. He would need to do something stupid and fall off the face of the earth to not get that MVP. But I think it's going to be a closer vote than people think. I really think Barkley's going to get a lot more votes than people really think. And if he gets the all-time rushing record, the award is anybody's guess. Because you can legitimately look at Barkley and go, the man was held down in New York, goes to a team with a semi-competent offensive line. We know how great the Eagles' offensive line is.
Mhm.
Changed the course of that franchise this entire year. Remember the Eagles last year? They were getting hurt and they were falling off at the wrong time towards the playoffs?
Yep.
It's the reverse this year. Their defense has gotten better and they're clicking on all cylinders at the right time.
Mhm.
So, and we'll get to that between them and the Lions in the playoff picture, but I'm curious for everyone else here.
Yep.
I think it's Allen.
Yeah.
I want it to be Barkley because I want a non-quarterback to win the award. And everything that Barkley has done has been absolutely legendary. So it's one person that is the most valuable player on his team because he has nobody else take the team on his back, or a guy who's probably going to break the all-time rushing record and has taken that team and legitimately won them games and have gotten them to the point. So you have legitimate arguments with both players, Allen or Barkley, and do you see anybody else involved?
I think in my eyes now, and this was, Philly was here in Baltimore, and that was, that game we were going to try to go to. Tickets were like $650 for nosebleeds.
I was going to say they had to be
it was
huge,
ridiculous to even try to get a ticket for that. But I watched it at home, and my buddy and I were talking about it. Now he's a diehard Ravens fan, and he said, "We're going to lose." He goes, "This is a team that the Ravens cannot beat." Now I will say this: Barkley, I think, has the MVP. I don't want to say stamped on him right now, but yeah, it's between him and Josh Allen. But I think Barkley's going to get this. I mean, it seems like every year it's always a quarterback. I'm tired of it because these quarterbacks,
Quarterback award,
dude. That's what they should call it, the quarterback award at this point.
Yeah.
Watching what Saquon Barkley can do, coming from a really shitty Giants team that really didn't do much with him, with a quarterback who, in and out of his career, he played with so many quarterbacks. You got a solid offensive line. They lost their best center, picked up another center. Dude's just filling in perfectly. That offensive line works well with him. And he took himself out of a game because he's like, I don't want the rushing record. Let the other guys play. I want that at another time. Like, let him do it. This kid cooks. And that's the thing, though. Like, Saquon is, like, you guys are going to remember this, but when I was young, Jamal Lewis, here for the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Lewis. Everybody talked about him for getting the 2,000 rushing yards in a season. It was awesome. My favorite running back of all time, Priest Holmes. Dude was a monster in Kansas City. Loved watching that. He has that style, Jamal Lewis, with the speed that people have been looking for in a running back. I do think it is a two-person race. I think Allen and Saquon, this is between those two, but if I had to put my money into it, I would say Saquon's probably going to get this. If Allen, like Adam said, the only way that Allen wouldn't win this is if he just shit the bed in the last couple games.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like at this point, you know, we already kind of touched on it, but the MVP has become the quarterback award, and then you have the offensive player of the year that they give out to kind of like the non-quarterback MVP award kind of thing. Yeah, the runner-up gets that one. But you know, and I think to touch real quick on the point that you made before, Adam, about how people aren't talking about Jalen Hurts. I think it's the same effect that you had last year between Purdy and McCaffrey. You know, it's almost the exact same thing. You can't have two guys be in the top 5 finalists for MVP because they're going to cancel each other out. I mean, that was the worst thing for McCaffrey last year, was having Purdy have a good year, because then people are, you know, some people only ever give credit to the quarterback and go, well, if you didn't have a good quarterback, you wouldn't be. Well, no, McCaffrey was clearly that MVP.
If you didn't have McCaffrey, you're not getting as far as you did last year.
Exactly. And the same thing right now with Philadelphia. If they don't have Saquon Barkley, and I think that's one of the other things that, to me, I love Josh Allen. I think he does deserve the MVP, but at the same time, you look at Saquon Barkley and you go, you know, you think about the fact that his team that he'd been on since he was drafted didn't want him anymore. And he goes to another team and ends up doing this. I mean, I don't think he does this in New York simply because the Giants are a dumpster fire. I mean, you do need, I mean, football is the ultimate team sport. We've talked about this numerous times, you know, which is why it drives me nuts when people talk about win-loss records for quarterbacks. It's just so freaking stupid. But I think more credit should be given, and TJ kind of did it already with talking about the offensive line for the Eagles and just overall team, because he doesn't do that with that. As good as Saquon Barkley is, he does not do that with just any team. You know, it's no different than I'd even go as far as to say, you know, Tom Brady, you know, when he left New England, he doesn't just go to any team and win a Super Bowl. I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were perfectly built. You know, they almost made the playoffs the year before with Jameis Winston as their starter because their defense was so dominant. So, you know, we need to start giving a little more credit where it's due to the overall team, I think. But yeah, I would say, I guess, I think right now that Josh Allen does have the lead, but my heart in some ways would love to see Saquon Barkley win it, you know, just for what we've all just kind of talked about. So
I'm
all right,
I wouldn't even be up.
Can I jump in?
Fan here. Troy's the Bills fan.
Let me just jump in here real quick. And here's the thing I want to say is I agree. We jumped on all that quarterback award versus MVP, whatever it is. It does seem to always be going to the quarterback right now. Barkley's having an amazing season. He's definitely in consideration. And if it is a true MVP award versus a quarterback award, he's definitely right up there with Allen this year. My thing is, I think Lamar should be higher than what he is as well. And this goes back to even last year.
Whoa.
Allen blew Lamar away in stats last year. And the only reason Lamar got the MVP last year was because his team went, whatever they went, 13-4 or whatever it was, and got the number 1 seed. It's kind of the same thing. If you look at Lamar's stat line from last year versus Allen's stat line of this year, they're really similar.
Yes.
And sure. Lamar's stat line this year is incredible, but they don't have the wins to back it up, which again brings us to the point of why are we pinning wins and losses on quarterbacks when it's clearly not just the quarterback that's getting the losses in this situation? Baltimore's pass defense is atrocious. Why does that fall back on Lamar? And you guys know me, I'm not a big Lamar fan, so I'm not trying to stick up for him here by any means.
That's why I said whoa when you said that. It was like, wow, that's bold for Troy to say he should be higher.
So I don't know what that line is, like where we draw that at, but it can't just be wins and losses. I mean, look at baseball. Freaking Mike Trout plays on a 50-win baseball team and wins MVP awards. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Very
so
true.
I don't know what that line is, but it seems to be going to the quarterback that has the best team. That just seems to be where it goes right now.
Yeah, for sure. TJ, did you want to mention one more thing before we moved on, or Adam, one of the two? No, you're good. Both good.
I'm
Okay.
good.
I'm good. Let's get some playoff discussion.
Yeah. So, here, and my wife needs a charger here, so I got to run the phone charger up to her. But one thing I wanted to ask, and you guys can discuss this. I'm looking at, and one of the things that I feel like I started thinking about over the past, with this weekend's games. 2 5-7 teams, one from the AFC, one from the NFC, and I want to ask each of you. I'll throw the question out there, and then you guys can discuss. And if you think it's a crappy question while I'm gone, you can just move on to something else. But we got the Miami Dolphins in the AFC. Packers beat them. You have the 49ers in the NFC. Both 5-7 teams. Do either of them still have a chance? Because I'm looking at the playoff picture right now. You have right now the let's see, where are they? Dolphins are in the ninth spot. If you so two out of the playoffs. The Niners are in the 11th spot. However, they're in that NFC West, which the Seahawks lead right now at 7-5. So only
they're only 2 games back.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say probably only one team is coming out of that NFC West, whoever wins.
Right.
Do either of those two teams, in your opinion, have a realistic shot? And I know the Niners, I will say, with McCaffrey done for the year, they got, I think, more injury problems than Dolphins do. But do either one of those teams, TJ, I'll start with you. Like I said, I got to run this up to my wife. But give us your thoughts on those two teams, and if you think there's somebody I left out that has a really good shot at sneaking in, why don't you throw that out there too?
So I'm going to say this. I don't think Miami's going to make it. And reason being is it doesn't seem like they can click. I mean, every week that I've watched them play, it seems like there's always something that always comes up as like, oh, the Dolphins used to be good because such and such. Okay, the Dolphins have 2 receivers in my eyes that could just take over the NFL right now, and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I think that's 100%. Everybody would say that as well. That tight end, I can't remember the tight end's name. He's catching fire as well, and he's having some help. Thank you. Yes, he's catching fire as well. I still don't think by the end of the season they're going to win. Honestly, I would give it to the Colts. I mean, Colts are 6-7 right now. They're on the bubble at the 8th spot. If they can continue, I mean, they have a bye, and then I can't see who they have after that. I think they could eke it in, and we could see a team. I don't think the Ravens really aren't going to miss the playoffs. I mean, it's the Ravens. They'll somehow pull it off, even with Tucker being crappy as it is. But I think
Can I jump, TJ, real quick? They are on a bye this coming week, but then they do play the Broncos after the bye, who's in the seventh spot.
Yeah. So I want to say that would be the team that would jump up in the AFC. Now,
and let's not forget, they still have a chance at that division, too. They're only 2 games back.
Yep. And now when you look at the NFC, though, yes, the 49ers.
I correct myself. They lost twice to them earlier in the season, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Never mind. Yep.
So the Niners are the 11th team. 11th team in this. Now, do I think the Niners are going to make the playoffs? Dude, they would have to win out for the rest of the year. Could I see it happening? Not anymore. They lost McCaffrey.
No. Injuries are crazy.
And
Mason.
And they lost Mason. So
they got the Bears this week, which maybe, but the Bears are going to have this new head coach jump. You know how that goes. That first game after a new head coach is never good for the opponent. Yep.
So looking from the bubble down, you got the Buccaneers at 6-6. You got the Cardinals who play Seattle. Seattle's, they're becoming hot too. You got the Rams playing Buffalo. Okay, I'm going to count that as a loss for the Rams. Now, do I want to fully count it? No, it's any given Sunday. Something can happen.
Yeah.
You got the 49ers with the Bears. Then you've got Dallas at number 12 with a 5-7 record, and they're playing Cincinnati, who, yes, Cincinnati's hot, but again, they can't win at the right moments. The way I see it coming to the end of the year,
defense,
I think the way that this bubble is going to go, I think if anybody were to sneak in on the NFC side, I think it's going to be between the Buccaneers and Dallas, because Dallas is hitting a good stride, and this is not just me being a Dallas fan. Dallas is hitting a good stride. It's awesome to watch because I thought the season was done for. And then you got the Bucs. I mean, Baker Mayfield, when he played against the Giants, now again, Giants are atrocious, put on a hell of a game. They got Vegas this week. I mean, I would give it to them on that one. But, Cardinals, Rams, and 49ers are above Dallas. Yeah.
You think Seattle keeps hold of that division, or do you think they give it up to Arizona there?
I think they're going to keep that division, to be honest with you. Like, I truly do. Yeah, Seattle's going to get it. And I think, the way the standings are sitting right now, I see the Lions, the Eagles, Seattle, Falcons, Vikings, Packers, and Commanders. Yeah, I see all that happening, but I don't see, unless somehow they come out of nowhere and the 49ers like, hey, we got this stud running back, or injuries are getting better, I don't see them even getting close to the playoff mix.
I think in the NFC that we're going to see pretty much what we see. I think the wild cards are going to stay pat. I don't think anybody's going to catch any of them wild cards. I think the only two things you're debating there is the West and the South. I think that's all you're debating.
East.
Whether it be
NFC
between
East.
No, the Eagles have that locked up. That's locked. I don't think the Commanders don't catch them.
You don't think the Commanders are going to? I don't know.
I don't think.
Okay, so
the Eagles got Carolina this week now, so they're going to 11-2.
Okay, but look at Carolina. Carolina was getting hot, and Tampa Bay barely kept up with them.
You might be right. But I don't know. Either way, I think both the Commanders and Eagles make it. So I don't really think it matters who wins that division. I think they're both in. So I still think it boils down to the Seahawks and the Cardinals in the West, and the Falcons and the Bucs in the South. I think that's really what we're looking at here. I would not be surprised if the NFC stays exactly how we see it right now. I'll be totally honest with you.
Mhm.
AFC, I would give the Dolphins a chance because their schedule isn't terrible. They got the Jets, the Texans, who don't look that great, the 49ers, who knows, who they're going to have playing by the time they play them in 3 weeks, the Browns, and then the Jets. But the problem is, when the Dolphins go play the Browns and the Jets, guess what they're doing? They're going to be playing more than likely in some frigid temperatures. And guess what Miami hasn't played well in? Frigid temperatures. So that's the only thing that holds me back from the Dolphins possibly making a run here. Other than that, I could see the Dolphins definitely making a run. They got the talent to do it. I don't think they do, though. In the AFC, if anybody's going to make a run at it, I agree with what you said there. I think it's the Colts. The Colts' schedule is not horrible. They basically controlled their destiny with the Broncos this week. Or not this week, but this coming, after their bye week. If they win that game, that's huge.
Yes.
That throws them right into the conversation. And then they got the Titans, the Giants, and the Jags.
Yeah, I believe they have the easiest remaining schedule in the NFL when it comes to wins and losses. So
I really think if they beat the Broncos, they're probably in.
Let me throw this at you, Troy, because I know you said the Commanders. Commanders lost to Dallas. The Commanders. They lost to Dallas. Dallas has them one more time in Dallas.
Sure.
If they lose to Dallas, do they lose that spot?
Let me look at that. So Commanders are 8-5. Dallas is 5-7. So that would they'd be down to 8-6. That would throw the Cowboys to 6-7. So they'd still be 2 wins behind. What's the rest of the Cowboys' schedule?
That's a great question.
I don't think so. I don't think it matters. I think even if the Cowboys beat them twice, I still don't think they catch them.
Yeah.
The Commanders.
I'm imagining I'm
The
imagining
biggest
the
thing in the
Commanders. Go ahead.
Sorry, the biggest thing in the NFC is the Bucks. I think
I
the
agree.
Bucks are going to get in
Yeah.
over the Falcons. The Bucks are a better team. The Cardinals are a very weird team. You
Yeah.
want my hot take? Kyler's gone in 2 years.
Mm.
Kyler does. I mean, even some of the broadcasters are saying it that he looks like he doesn't want to play football.
So Dallas's remaining schedule, we got Monday, December 9th, we've got the Bengals, Panthers, Bucks, Eagles, and Commanders. Now, I will say this right now.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I just looking at that now, I don't think so. But if we beat the Bucks, now that's an if, and I do believe that's down in Florida. No,
Wait,
it's in Jerry's World.
TJ, repeat that. Repeat the first couple that they have coming up here.
The Bengals, Panthers, and Bucks.
So they could realistically, there's a possibility that by the time they end those last, they could be up to 9-7.
They could, and then that's
Well,
when
that'd be if they went out though. They'd have to win those 4.
they
Well,
would
no,
have
I
to
mean,
win.
if they because they're what, I'm sorry, what are they right now?
They're 5 and
7?
7. They're 5 and
Oh,
7.
okay, so they could be 8 and 7. I guess
They
is
could
what I
go
meant.
8 and 7 to. They could go 8 and 7 and then go into the Eagles game. Now that Eagles game, I do believe, is in Philly.
I
Okay.
think it is.
So right there, I can tell you, for some odd reason, we've never played well in Philadelphia at the Link.
Hmm.
So that one right there, I would give that to the Eagles. Cool, they sweep us this year. Wouldn't be the first time they've done that. Then we
So
go
you're
to the
saying best
Commanders.
case scenario, Cowboys end up 9 and 8.
Cowboys end up 9 and 8, and the
They would
last
have
game
2
January
games
5th.
over. They would have 2
Yeah.
games over Commanders if they would do that.
Yep. So January 5th, I feel like it would determine if they bump out the Commanders or the Commanders stay in. That's
But what's the
way I
rest?
see it.
What's the rest of the Commander schedule? Because what did they finish in their division last year? 3rd. So they got to have some easy games here yet. I mean, they got the Saints. They have a bye week, and then they have the Saints, and then the Eagles, and then the Falcons. So I'll tell you what. I mean,
I think the way
I
that
see,
this
I
is
see
looking,
your point, but I think if they play this, if they beat the Saints, I think that wraps it up. I think that locks it
yeah.
up.
So it's New Orleans in New Orleans, Eagles at home, Falcons at home, and Commanders at Dallas.
Yep.
So I say now Saints.
I don't
have
think they lose out. I don't think they lose out, TJ, and
I don't think they lose to. They're not going to lose to the Saints. Eagles are probably going to give them a good run for their money. Falcons are going to be. That's going to be a great game to watch. But like I said, I think that Dallas game might be the determining factor.
You know what? I mean, if even if they do beat the Saints and they lose to the Eagles, Falcons, and Cowboys, that would, and then the Cowboys do what we're saying they would, what you're saying they would do, that would put them at the same record, and therefore the Cowboys would get the tiebreaker because they beat them head to head twice.
Yep.
So, but we're also not factoring into where does that throw Atlanta and Tampa Bay and Arizona, because they could all be right in that same mix right there around 500 at 9 and 8 as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and with the Falcons, they have the Vikings, the Raiders, the Giants, Commanders, and Panthers.
See, I mean, there's no way they're going to win at least. What's their record right now? 6 and 6. They're going to win at least 2 of those for sure.
Yes.
That's
And
8 and 6.
then-
I mean,
Let's see. What do we got for the Bucks? The Bucks are going. They have the Raiders this week.
win.
Win.
Then they go to the Chargers, Cowboys, Panthers, and Saints.
Say that again, slower.
So they win
Chargers,
3,
Chargers
at
will
least
win.
3.
Chargers.
You think they'll beat the Chargers?
Dallas,
Yeah, Chargers is a win. Dallas is a win. Next,
Panthers,
that's a win. Bucks
and the
are in.
Saints.
You think
Possible.
you think the Bucks win out?
I don't. I do. I mean, they're gonna.
So you think they end up 11 and 6 and win that division?
the
Then, huh?
only upset I can see is the Saints and
Maybe the Chargers,
was it,
right?
the Chargers game, but that's enough. And the Falcons have who again? Like, are you confident in Kirk Cousins right now? People are
No,
calling for
not
Penix
at all.
already.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I would not be confident with them. So Falcons have Raiders this week. Or no, sorry,
Yep.
Vikings this week.
Loss.
Raiders the next.
Win.
Giants,
Win.
Commanders, and
Loss.
Panthers.
Watch that be the week that Bryce Young decides to play himself for security for another year. That's going to be tough.
I'll tell you what, it's that That's going to be interesting between
It really
the
is. It really, really is.
the Commanders, Falcon, and TJ. I don't think the Cowboys are going to sneak in, but if they do what you said, they do throw themselves right in the mix.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like it's just one of those things that I kept looking at too, because as a Dallas fan, like I said, when we win the 2-game winning streak we've had right now, do you know the parade I've been throwing for that? We beat the Commanders and we beat the Giants, dude. I'm throwing parades left and right. But looking into the schedule now, our last 2 games are with the best teams in the NFC East, is what I'm looking at right now. And if we lose to the Eagles, cool. I see that happening. It's in Link. It happens all the time. But when we play the Commanders, I don't know what it is. They flip a switch and somehow they win those games.
I don't know, man. That's why they play the game.
That's right. Yeah.
Any given Sunday.
I always enjoy. I will say this. One thing I enjoy about looking at the playoff picture is on NFL.com. They've got the next gen stats where they have like your percentage of playoff probability, and if you lose, this is what it is. Yeah, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, the Cowboys right now 3%, and then it's like if lose less than 1%, if they win 6%. It kind of just makes me not to pick on the Cowboys. I'm taking those odds.
I'm taking every single one of those odds.
Here's what cracks me up. I'm looking at
the best offense with a shitty ass defense. The Bengals.
I'm looking at that same thing, Aaron. And here's what cracks me up. They have the Lions lose or anything. They're better than a 99% chance to get into the playoffs, right? How could you be better than 99% and not be locked in? Like, I don't understand that.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because it's a good point because the Chiefs have already sewn up. I mean, the Bills are the first team to win their division this year, but the Chiefs have already sewn up a playoff berth, and then in the NFC
because there's so much parity in the AFC.
Seven spots still available. It's like, well, no. I mean, how can you not say the Lions? I guess I'd have to look at their. I mean, to me, there's 3 teams in the NFC North that, the Lions.
I don't see the Lions, Vikings. I don't see the Lions, Vikings, or Packers missing. I don't see it happening. I don't see any way at this point they're missing.
Yeah, I mean, like the Packers. To me, the Packers are the biggest question mark, and
I would say so, but I still think they're in.
Yeah, well, I agree. I think they're in, but all they have to do is win 2 of their last 5, and that puts them at no worse than 11-6.
Yeah, and you're in.
Yeah, but yeah.
Boys, we talk about these playoff pictures. Can we just real quickly here? I know you all want to talk college football.
Nah, we're good.
No, we're good. We're good.
No, I'm kidding. NFC, I think the NFC Championship is very clear. It's the Lions and the Eagles. I think it's very clear.
Yeah,
here's the thing.
I agree.
Right now,
it's clear. There's nobody in the NFC can stop those 2 teams. Nobody. Here's the thing. Remember last year we said the Eagles were playing outstanding football?
Yeah.
What happened to the Eagles? Injuries.
They collapsed.
Wrong time of the year. The injury bug bit them, and it was the lack of depth that they couldn't have. When that secondary was bad all year. That secondary fell apart. The injuries hit. The offense was fine. Their defense costed them.
Yeah.
Look at the Lions. The best offense in the NFL. Hutchinson's out. Anzalone is out. You just lost. I haven't even seen Rakestraw play.
Malcolm
Rodriguez out. Like, you're losing all this. They just signed Jamal Adams to the practice squad.
Did they really? I didn't see that.
Yeah.
So I think if the Eagles can play a complete football game, Quinyon Mitchell's been outstanding, even though I think the stats are kind of cherry picked to make him look outstanding. But yes, he shuts down number ones.
Their young defenders are playing great ball right now.
And someone who should have never been in the second round.
Cooper DeJean
never should have been in the second round. DeJean should have never been there. And the Eagles, I don't know if they screwed up or if they did it right. By not including DeJean in the first half of the season, letting him come back from injury properly, and then slowly incorporating him. He's not even fully incorporated into the defense yet. He's not close. Next year, watch out for DeJean and watch out for Mitchell. But if you have these two rookies that can be competent to good, that was the two key pieces they need to make their defense better.
Is he playing CB for them, or is he safety?
He's a free safety.
That's what I thought.
He's safety.
And he literally he had that hit on Derrick Henry where he picked him up. And Derrick Henry tweeted about that, and he goes,
"It was like a WWE move, pick up and legs, and bam, spine buster."
He's literally he spiked him, and he goes, "That hit rocked me." And he goes,
"That's because he tackled him the way you're supposed to tackle him, like nobody else does."
And he goes, "He's like, that's a white boy rookie. Wow, I'm lost." Literally said, that's a white boy rookie.
See, we don't have to get into all that, but if that was said the other way around. I'm just wondering what would happen.
NFL
anyway,
people coming.
Yeah.
AFC, I think is more muddied.
Yeah, but to your point though, Adam, you know, one of the things that I picked up, or I started thinking about watching the Thursday or the Thanksgiving game between the Bears and the Lions, like this whole season, I thought, up to the last couple weeks, that the Lions were the most dominant team.
Yep.
You know, I for the longest time I've said, I don't remember what I predicted. I'm not sure if I predicted them to win the Super Bowl, but I think I did pick them to go from the NFC. And I felt all season pretty much that if it was them and Kansas City right now in the Super Bowl, or Buffalo, I think would give them a harder game. But if it was them in Kansas City, I think Detroit wins pretty easily. That's my opinion. But they showed that they can be beat.
Especially with all these injuries piling up. Yeah.
And I mean, you had a team in Chicago led by a rookie quarterback who couldn't do a damn thing in the first half, who charged back, and if they had a decent coach, would have won that game. So, like, I'm not sure if Detroit is as dominant, and I'm not trying to even be biased here as a Packer fan. I mean, I don't like saying positive things about the Vikings, but I'll say positive things about the Lions. And the bottom line is the Lions have appeared dominant most of the year. I think they're one of the only teams who've scored over 40 plus points in like 5 or 6 games this year. And it was four games, 4 times. So
4 times, including those for 50 plus points.
Yeah. So like my feeling was they've been kicking butt against teams that they should be beating badly. Like, I mean, they 52-6 over Jacksonville. And you could say, well, it's Jacksonville. But then you look at, the Packers barely beat Jacksonville. They needed a last-second field goal to beat them. The Vikings only scored 12 points. They beat them 12-7. So
the Eagles barely beat Jacksonville.
Yeah, and then you have the Lions come in. But if you ask me right now, I might pick. And yeah, I mean, injuries have something to do with it, and it always does. This is football. But the way both teams are playing right now, I might pick the Philadelphia Eagles over the Lions in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And I wouldn't have said that 3 or 4 weeks ago. This is interesting how it'll come down. Yeah.
So to finish up the NFC, if Terrion Arnold can morph into the the first round pick that he should, because he struggled this year. And I think that's just some players' adaptation to the NFL. And depending what scheme you come into, you do need that full rookie year to really come into your own as a person and as a player. And, I get that. I think the Eagles are the most complete team in the NFL right now. Offense, defense, everything. The Lions have the smash mouth style of play. I still think it'll be the Lions, but I think the Eagles, like I said, they play good defense. I think the Lions, they'll be stifled. In the AFC, I have the Bills and Ravens with the Bills getting to the Super Bowl. So give me a Lions, Bills, Super Bowl. And we're going to get a preview of that week 15. Because the Bills are playing the Lions.
Oh, nice. All right. Okay, so let's go. Why don't we jump real quick into I was going to review some of the games, but I think we've covered the playoffs and whatnot. I mean, does anyone have a game that stood out from this weekend, or should we get to our week 14 predictions?
I don't really think anything stood out in my eyes. I think it was more of just the. I mean,
Black Friday.
Yeah, Black Friday game wasn't too bad.
The Black
I'm telling
Friday
you what,
game-
that was shady. That was shady. I don't
The
care what
refs are
anybody
painted
says,
red, my friend.
and I am not being biased. That was shady.
Yeah.
You don't have a referee come in, signaling a false start to stop the play, and then all of a sudden they discuss it and decide, no, it wasn't a false start. It's an illegal shift or whatever it is, and the Chiefs recover the ball. Come on. That was shady.
I think the entire afternoon slate of games, Seattle at Arizona, Buffalo at the Rams, and Chicago at San Francisco, are all fantastic games. I think those are the games that interest me way more than anything in the 1 o'clock window.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, so let's jump ahead and do our week. We'll do a rapid fire kind of thing here.
Sure.
Let's see, because we've got
Sunday night football is going to be electric. Chargers at Kansas City. Cincy at Dallas on Monday. Okay, so the 1 o'clock
tomorrow night.
Yeah, there's some decent games. Okay, so let's start with tomorrow night's game. We got the Packers at the Lions. Shoot, and I don't even have. I meant to pull up the odds or whatever. I don't have that.
I can do that.
Can you do that? Okay.
It's an over 50 total according to Stokastic. I'm going to pull up Vegas Insider. It is,
and I've heard it's come down to. Okay, I've heard it's come down. Actually, it started a week. Last week it was, I think, 5.5 for the Lions. Well, I'm as far as the spread is concerned, it's now down to 3 for the Lions.
Yep, correct.
With
Lions,
it was
Lions 27.25, Packers 24.25.
Okay, all right. So, I know we start. Well, let's just go around the horn here. TJ, what do you think of tomorrow night's game?
Where's it being played? Lambeau?
Detroit.
No, that's Detroit.
Oh, in Detroit?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's going to be. He said the over was 50, 51.
51 and a half.
Yep.
I'm going to take the over on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the Lions. I'm going to take it 35-33. I think it's going to be a good game.
Okay. All right. Troy, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Lions here as well. Is the line exactly 3?
Exactly.
I believe
3.
so. Yeah.
That's tough. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna take the push. I'm gonna take the push, and I'm gonna take the over. So I'm gonna go like 28-25, something like that.
Some places you can get it at 3.5, but I'm considering it 3. With 3.5, I'd take the under, as I do think it's a push at 3. I'm taking the Lions at home, 34. I want to say 13 because I think the defense gets it going. 24. 34-24.
Okay. Now I am gonna be a little bit of a homer here because the Packers, the exact same thing happened last year, and I think it can happen this year. Well, they're starting to kind of hit their stride, kind of like they did around the same time last year. I will say I'll take the over also. I will say Packers 38, Lions 34. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
That's respectful.
Yeah. So I would love to see it blow out, but I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, so next game here we'll go into Sunday's games. The noon slate. Jets and Dolphins. Troy, we'll start with you since Adam.
I don't know the line, but
you are okay. Right.
I'll take the Dolphins. I'll take the Dolphins there. I don't know what the line is exactly, but I think it's gonna. I don't even know what the line is, but I'm gonna take an under, and I'm gonna take the Dolphins to cover. 45. I still take the under. I'll take the Dolphins, and I'll take the under, and I'll take them to cover. And I don't even know what the cover is, but I'll take them to cover.
Okay, TJ, how about you?
I'm gonna take the Jets. Honestly,
you think they'll win outright, or?
I think it's going to be a close one. I'd say 24-21.
Okay.
Lines at 6. Some spots 6.5. Opened at 2. Give me the Dolphins to win. Jets to cover.
Okay, and I'm going to take the Dolphins to win and to cover.
I like it.
I think the Jets.
I think the Jets have mailed it in.
A freaking
They have.
mess. Yeah. I don't really blame them, and part of it I think is on AR8, and part of it's on. There's another team like we kind of forgot about them when we were talking and to start the show. I mean, just what a mess that organization is, and you had
same issue.
Yeah,
issue.
Exactly. And what's funny is I remember when just kind of a little side note when the trade first came down with Aaron Rodgers, sending him to the Jets. I remember Pat McAfee going on the show and opening his show and talking about what a brilliant GM Douglas was for the Jets, and I think. AJ Hawk said something about Brian Gutekunst and McCaffrey was just like, oh, that guy just completely just completely disrespected Gutekunst. And here Gutekunst looks like a freaking genius at this point. And
what did they get out of that, by the way?
It was he ended up getting, what did we get this year? We got just two draft picks. It was it a second round that year for that draft, and then a conditional second round that could be a first if he had played like 75% of the snaps that first season or whatever. It was just really two draft picks, and I don't even remember what draft picks we got
but even so,
or who we drafted, but it was like we got rid of that whole thing. I mean, he played it to the point where it was almost like a Belichick kind of thing, where Belichick always was credited with knowing just when the right time was to get rid of certain guys, and all that. And I kind of feel like that was, and honestly, I think that Aaron would have retired had he not gotten rid of him. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, okay, let's move on. Just a little side note there. Okay, so yeah, I picked the Dolphins to cover. Next game, Falcons and Vikings. So we have Kirk Cousins returning to US Bank Stadium. And again, I don't know what we got. 10-2 Vikings and the 6-6 Falcons. Falcons are an interesting team because some games they do look really good, and other games they look like just absolute crap. So TJ, why don't you lead this one off? Again, I don't know I'm assuming that the Vikings are favored.
It looks like they're like 5.5, something like that.
I think last time I saw it was 5.5.
Okay.
It is 5.5. Yeah, let's go with 5.5.
Okay, TJ.
What's the over?
Line is 45.5. Yeah.
Okay.
Vikings, Falcons.
Both dome teams. I mean, that doesn't really play a part into it. I honestly, you know what? I'm going to take the Falcons on this one. I think they're going to go in there. They're going to play. They're going to show that they are a team to be reckoned with to make the playoff. I don't think I'm going to take the under on this. And I'm going to go, I'll say 21-14. Like, I think it's going to be a last-second touchdown.
Okay. Adam, how about you?
I still think the Vikings win. I think the Falcons cover. I think Kirk Cousins has to come out and play hard here.
Okay. Troy, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I'm feeling the Vikings to get upset this week. So I'm going to say 23-20 Falcons.
Okay. I'm going to say, as much as it pains me, but the Vikings this year has been like the couple, 2 years ago when they went 13-4 and they just kept pulling games out of their butts at the very last, and especially at home. I had a feeling they were going to pull that one out last week against Arizona. I think it'll be close again. I think maybe like a 23. We'll say 27-24. I think it'll be like another last second field goal or something like that pulls it out. So, I'll take the Falcons to cover. But all right, next game we've got Saints and Giants. This is brutal.
All right, move on.
All right. Yeah, exactly. I don't even know we want to talk about this one, but all right. Let's just Troy, let's start with you. What do you
give me Is it still Drew Lock?
Still Drew Lock.
I don't even know why I asked. Give me the Saints. Give me the Saints. 20-14.
Okay, Adam, what are your thoughts on this?
I
one?
don't care. Both teams suck. Carr should be gone. Let my boy Spencer Rattler free and let the man go. Saints are going to win this game. The Giants, I just don't care. They're in the Shador, Sanders, Cam Ward sweepstakes.
Okay, TJ.
I'm gonna go Saints by 50.
Saints by 50.
They're-
Damn.
My
they're
Discord
gonna-
soundboard
hey,
to hit the sad horn.
They did that earlier in the year, didn't they? Beat somebody like who the hell was it? Like 48.
Their first two
when they
games,
had
48 to
Rasheed
6.
overrated.
Yeah.
the Cowboys and whoever else they played.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They freaking they scored like
They-
50 burgers or 50
Sure.
first two games.
They
And you know who they had
mangled
with
the
that?
Cowboys.
Rasheed overrated Shaheed.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll pick the
Like, he's a
Saints.
good player.
I don't even know what the score. But you know what? This could be a debate for another show since we're running a little long here. But talking about two completely inept franchises, you have two in one city. Who's worse, the Jets or the Giants? But we can. That would be an interesting topic for New York sports fans. Okay,
New
next
Jersey.
game.
New Jersey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry, New Jersey. Panthers and Eagles. This is. Right now the Eagles.
12 and a half.
I'll 12 and a half.
Mhm.
See, those are always scary, but I can see the Eagles the way they're playing right now doing that. But the way the Panthers have played the last couple of weeks, it does make you wonder, could they hang in there? I'll still.
Where's the game at?
Philly.
It's in Philly. So I'll go first here. I'll pick Philadelphia to win by. I think they will cover. This could be like a 2-touchdown win, but maybe the Panthers keep it close as the game goes along, something like that. So, TJ, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'd love for the Panthers to play spoiler. I think everybody would. At some point in the NFC, East, they want the Panthers to play spoiler because that'd just be awesome. I don't think it's going to happen. Yes, the Panthers are getting hot at the right time, but it's with the wrong record. I don't think they're going to pull this one out. I do think it may be close depending on how this game is played. Give me 35-26 Eagles.
Okay, Troy.
Give me 30-17 Eagles. I got them barely covered, and I got barely on the over.
Okay, Adam.
Which one are we talking about?
Eagles.
Eagles,
I
Panthers.
forget about these 1:00 games.
Panthers, Eagles.
Sorry, I was distracted. I give Eagles 46 over under. It's a thrashing. Eagles.
You think so? Okay.
They say it again. It's a 12.5 point favorite for the Eagles.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the next one. Which again, this is another one that you look at and go, oh, this could be a lot closer. Browns at the Steelers. We had that a couple.
Browns
weeks ago.
just beat them a couple weeks ago.
Exactly in Cleveland. So, and I don't know what the weather is supposed to be like or any of that kind of crap because it's only Wednesday.
Not this time. Steelers
yeah.
win this time, and I think they cover. I'm going to go 27-14 Steelers.
Okay, Adam, how about you?
Give me the Steelers over the Browns 27-24. Winston's going to earn himself a starting job in this league next year.
Okay, TJ?
Give me. I'm going to get made fun of this. Give me the Browns 27-21.
To sweep the Steelers.
All right. And I'll take the Steelers. As much as I hate Russell Wilson, I will take the Steelers. I do like Mike Tomlin, so that kind of evens it out. I'll take the Steelers 24-17. So I think it'll be a close game. All right. This is going to be another one of those that I'm not really sure. Well, what one team gives a shit, the other one. Raiders at Buccaneers. Another
Raiders
12:00 game. Raiders
Yeah,
at the Buccaneers.
The Raiders want Shador Sanders. That's what's going to be the case. So Pierce is going to get his guy. Pierce is going to be there. Pierce seems to be a good coach. He's got nothing around him. He has no quarterback. The Bucs are easily going to beat the Raiders.
So you think just a little sidetrack on this one? You think that because
Pierce is safe?
some of the rumors
Pierce
that I've
is safe.
heard, are that the Raiders love Shedeur Sanders and that they would love to get Dion.
Dion is not leaving college.
You don't think so?
No.
Dion's gonna go to Miami.
Dion's
Yeah.
also just I don't think he's all that good. That's besides
Well,
the point.
I know.
Great
Okay.
elite player.
Yeah,
Coach, you
true.
need to continue to prove yourself.
True.
You've coached for
True.
Jackson State. You've had a losing season at Chicago, and you're winning right now because of Shedeur. He needs.
You mean Colorado? Colorado.
Who cares?
You said you said Chicago. I'm just
Chicago,
I was just clarifying.
They both begin with a C, Troy.
And end with an O.
Fair. No, I think that Dion's gonna need to prove himself without his son.
All right. Fair enough. All right, Troy, what
And
are your
quite
thoughts on the
frankly,
game here?
Without the best player in college football in Travis Hunter. See
Yeah,
what
true.
you can do with your recruiting efforts. If you have a losing season, you are going to continue to get better as a head coach. If you dominate next year with no Shedeur and no Travis Hunter, he's going to get pinged for NFL coaching jobs. But I don't see him going there.
Because of what Adam just said, and I agree with him, I think they're going to keep Pierce. I think the Raiders keep this game close. I think the Buccaneers still sneak it out, but I think this game's going to be closer than expected. The Raiders play hard. They like Pierce. So I'm going to go 24-20 Buccaneers.
Okay.
There you go.
TJ?
I'm gonna go Buccaneers. I'll go 35-31.
Yeah, see, and I'll say this with the Raiders. I thought last week's Black Friday game was the chance for the Chiefs to kind of get things right and run them over. And the Raiders should have won that game, to be
They
honest.
should have
So
won. That was so sketchy.
yeah. So I will say that a couple weeks ago I would have said the Buccaneers are going to blow them out. Buccaneers are one of those teams though too where they're kind of confusing because
They are.
I do feel they're more consistent than the Falcons, but yeah, some weeks they come out and they look like they could just tear apart, any team that they're playing, and other weeks they're, stumbling over their own 2 feet. So
Sometimes they do that in the same game.
Mhm.
yeah, true, very true. So, but I'm picking the Buccaneers. I think it'll be, we'll say 28-23. We'll pick some weird score like that. Okay, 28-23. Next game.
Breaking news: Kansas was just upset by Creighton.
Were they really?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
But Creighton isn't always a bad basketball team, right?
No, they're not,
but
Kansas was number one, so that's big,
NCAA
yeah.
tournament. Oh, well.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is another craptastic game.
Oh, jeez.
The last of the noon games, the Jaguars at the Titans, 2-10 versus 3-9.
39.5 over under.
Yeah,
39.5. Jeez.
39. Wow, that sounds like
And
Iowa.
I did see Lawrence is out for the season. He's getting some sort of shoulder surgery, I think I seen.
The Jags have nothing to play for.
Yeah, but neither do the Titans. So,
But he was put on
But at
IR
least the Titans have a new coach that they might be fighting for, whereas the
True.
Jags know their coach is gone. So with that being said, I'm
Titans
going
coach.
Titans here.
both
Uh,
of these head coaches are done.
You think one and done
Yes.
in Tennessee?
Yes. Because the pick of whoever the Titans have made no sense to begin with. Both of these teams are done. I'll take the Titans to win and cover. It's a 3.5 point spread. I
Okay.
think Levis also playing for his starting job as well.
So Troy, you're taking the Titans?
Yeah, I'm
to
taking
cover
the
that
Titans,
too?
and I think they're going to blow them out. I think it's not even going to be close. I'm going to say like 27-10.
Yeah, I think without Lawrence, I would agree with that. TJ, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Titans, but I'm gonna go 45-3.
All right, nice.
Give me some of what he has.
Yeah, no kidding.
I've
And
got it right
I'll-
there if you need it.
I'll pick the Titans too. I think I'll say I'm not as confident in their offense as TJ, but
I'm not either.
I'll say like
Maybe,
20.
maybe he was more confident in the confidence of the Jaguars offense.
That's true.
Maybe
that's true.
maybe they're signing Jameis Winston. They're getting a couple pick sixes this week.
Yeah. I'll say 24-6 Titans, something like that. So, all right. So then we go to the 3:00 window. We got 3 games in the 3:00 window. We got Seahawks and Cardinals. Good game.
Oh, this is for the division over
Aaron.
here, right?
Yep.
Aaron, because we're
Yeah.
running pretty long. Do we just want to go picks rather than lines and stuff?
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Because I know you guys still want to. I know you all want to talk some college. It's rivalry weekend.
Well, we'll touch
got
on
championships
college
coming up.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really know who we have. Is anybody else jumping in to talk college? I don't know, but
I haven't
I don't
seen anyone
know.
else popping backstage.
No,
No.
and that's fine. I mean, we can keep it to more of a shorter college conversation, but yeah, let's just do the picks then. So, Adam, we'll start with you. Seahawks
Round the horn.
and Cardinals. Seahawks at Cardinals.
Seahawks, and I think it's really close. I can see the Cardinals edging this out by a field goal.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm going Cardinals. Let's go. Cardinals winning at home.
Talk yourself out of it. Okay, Troy, how about
I
you?
did. I talked myself
I'm
out
going-
of Cardinals
I'm-
at home.
I'm going Cardinals as well.
Yep. Okay, TJ.
Seahawks.
See, and if this was in Seattle, I would probably go with the Seahawks, but I'll you know what?
That's why I switched, Aaron.
I know. I'm gonna go Seahawks actually, just because what I saw last week and the way they ended there against I mean, Kyler Murray had some really crappy throws in that second half. I mean, a couple of those, including the interception to end the game. It was like, what the hell? I thought I was watching Jordan Love against the Niners in the playoffs last year. I mean, like, what are you doing? Where are you throwing that? But yeah, so I will take the Seahawks. I think they'll win by maybe a field goal. It'll be a close game. Hopefully, it'll be a good game because I want to see some good games in the afternoon window, in the late window. Next game, Troy. We'll start with you. This is your Bills at the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. This one worries me a little bit because I think they might be looking ahead a little bit to Detroit. But I think the Bills find a way to sneak this out. It's a 4.5 line. I don't think they're going to cover, so I'm going to say they only win by a field goal here. But I think the Bills will sneak this one out in the end.
Okay, Adam.
Rams. Sorry, Troy.
No,
right.
I totally see it. I can see it happening.
The Rams have a better offense. They've got 2 elite wide receivers. They have an elite running back. And if they had a better defense, we'd be talking about this as the 3rd best team in the NFC. Give me the Rams to make a late playoff run. Caveat, if the Bills win this, and if it's off the back of Josh Allen, he locks up MVP. And he will be at minus 500 by the end of that game.
All right, TJ.
Because he will lock up the MVP if he carries that team on his back against the Rams, period.
I think it depends on the following week, to be honest. If he beats Detroit, I think it's
that's going to make a big deal, too. Make no mistake about that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
TJ.
go off of one player on the Bills, and that's Amari Cooper. Anytime he plays the Rams, he has a career game. Doesn't matter what team he's played for, he's had career games.
You write that down for DFS. Lock Amari Cooper.
I think the Bills are gonna go off. Do I think it's going to be like a massacre? No, but I think it'll be a good game. Adam said it perfectly. 2 receivers and a solid running back for the Rams. But I think Josh Allen's going to carry that team, and I think Amari Cooper is going to go off as well because anytime he's played the Rams, dude, that he finds something wide open. So I'm going to take the Bills, but I'm going to keep it close. I'm going to keep it 35-32.
Okay. And I'll pick the Bills too. I think I also think it'll be close. I think it'll be I was 31-28 something. I think it'll be a field goal game. The Rams are again one of those teams that just sometimes really confuse me because they can look really good, like they're like the Stafford of old and the season they won the Super Bowl, and then again, I know it's a phrase I probably use way too often, but some games they just crap the bed and you're like, what the hell are you even like? Are you guys even want to be out there right now? So I think this will be a game where they do show up, but I just like the Bills this year compared to in past years. So
I agree.
All right. Next game.
You want a hot take for what we as a little bridge when we get into college talk?
Sure.
If Sean McVay stays with the Rams, if he doesn't leave and go do broadcasting somewhere and get paid ridiculous amounts of money. We heard the Amazon tried pilfering him to go, commentate for their games.
Yeah.
I think the Rams will draft Carson Beck as the heir apparent to Matthew Stafford.
Carson, yes.
Because Beck right now is not a first rounder. And if the Rams can get him late first, early second, I think he'll be the successor to Stafford.
Well,
Bears, Niners.
Don't they also have Stetson Bennett?
The 38-year-old Stetson Bennett.
Mhm.
Yeah, Carson Beck. Bears at Niners.
Okay, Bears at Niners is the last of the three the 3 o'clock window games. This could actually be a decent game,
Yep.
even though nobody at this point feels that either of these teams really has that much of a chance. But TJ, what are your thoughts on this game? It's at the Niners.
Give me the Bears. I think there's too many injuries with the 49ers. Give me the Bears, but I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. I'm going to keep it 21-13.
Okay. And I'll go next. And one of the reasons why I want to go next is because Troy, you commented on this earlier in the year when the Jets fired Saleh. And that next week they were playing the Bills, and you were like, "Oh, great, we got. They're going to get that 1 game bump that you get when you have a new head coach." I think maybe we see something like that with the Bears. This is the first week, that first game after Eberflus. I'm going to take the Bears, and I think it might be 31-13, something like that. I don't. It may not even be close. So that's my prediction. Troy, how about you?
No, I agree. And you took the words right out of my mouth, and you took my thought right out of my mouth. I think the Bears get the one.
That's why I did that. I wanted to look smart. Like I was just repeating something over and over again. Okay, go ahead.
No, yeah, I agree. I think they get that 1 game bump, and nothing against the Niners, and I don't think Shanahan's in danger or anything like that. But I think they've just gone through too much this season, and I think I think they're packing it in. I really do. I think it's time for them to pack it in.
Yeah.
Okay, Adam, how about you?
Give me the Bears. I think they win pretty handedly here. As much as I like Isaac Guerrero, I like him. I liked him coming out of college. I think the kid's got very fast speed. I don't think the 49ers have anything to contend with that Bears defense. I'll take the Bears to win this game.
Okay, quick question. And I just want short answers here from everyone.
Money.
The Niners
Cookies.
the Niners Super Bowl window, has it closed?
Yes.
Or do you think this is just hey, it's a bad year for injuries and they can possibly bounce back and make it back to the Super Bowl next year?
I mean, it's kind of hard to answer that real short.
Says,
if you just want a yes or no, I'm going to say no, because I think Shanahan is capable enough coach to keep them relevant.
They have 1 more year. No.
You think they have 1 more year? Okay. All right. We'll go on the next one here. We'll bring Steve's hopped in here. So okay. Hey, Steve.
With a busted camera.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
And he's
all right. All right. Sunday night we got Chargers and Chiefs. So this could be a good game. Chargers are one of those teams that just sometimes confuse the heck out of me. Adam, what are your thoughts on this one?
Chargers head into Arrowhead Stadium and upset the referee Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, no, I'm kidding, but no, they're going to upset the Kansas City Chiefs. Chargers go in and they're going to win this by 3 because of how really good KC's defense is. But Herbert's going to sling it. He's going to take advantage. And I'm massively looking to McConkey and even QJ here in this game. I don't think the running back's going to get much done against that Chiefs front 7 because they've been one of, if not the best run defense in the NFL this year. This is going to be a fun game. Chargers are going to get it 24-21. The Chiefs finally get exposed.
Okay. Troy, how about you?
Dude, I've seen too much to bet to say the Chiefs are going to lose this game. I actually think if all things were played properly and shenanigans weren't going on here, I do think the Chargers would probably win this game, but everything seems to be going the Chiefs' way, so I'm not going to go against them. I'm going to say 23-20 Chiefs.
All right, TJ?
I got the referees by 30.
30? Jeez, what is this guy on tonight?
Referees.
No, so I think this is – I'm going to go with Adam, and Adam took the score exactly what I was going to say. I think the Chargers are going to come in here. I think Herbert's going to sling it. They're going to show that Kansas City is fraudulent because they shouldn't have won certain games already this season.
They shouldn't be this record.
No, so I'm going to take the Chargers, and I'm going to say 24-21.
Did you see? By the way, did you see their what are they? They're 11-1. Is that what they are?
Yeah.
And their point differential is only like a plus 56.
Yep.
Like what the hell is that?
Yep. Yeah. And I'm gonna side with Troy on this, and I'm gonna pretty much say I'm gonna steal the words out of his mouth this time. And I've seen this team pull games out of their ass so much, just like the Vikings this year, that I'm not gonna bet against them. It's at Arrowhead. I think it'll be a very good game. I think there's going to be some calls that you're like, that's a little bit shady right there. And I think that's how they're going to win. I say 24-21 Chiefs. And then let's go to the Monday Nighter.
Pretty much the same total.
Yeah, pretty much.
Does Steve want to jump in on this Sunday night?
Is my microphone working? Can you all hear me?
Now it is. Yep.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm working on like backup of backup equipment tonight. So I apologize for the late appearance, but here's the deal. Harbaugh has proven that this is not just some escape hatch from Michigan. He has really played the Chargers well this year. I've been impressed in a lot of their games, and I agree that I think this is going to be a test to show that there is some holes in the Chiefs. This is not, the Chiefs, this one score fiesta that they're on this year. I mean, the statistics of how many games they've won by flukes or crazy things or just, this team, if things had gone the different direction, we would be going, what is up with the Chiefs this year? But they're just playing out the narrative, probably with the assistance of Goodell and all of his friends. But I really think the Chargers are going to have the Chiefs run for their money this game. I think the Chiefs will win, unfortunately, because it's the way it's gone this year. But once again, it's going to be a one-score game.
Okay, let's go to Monday night and the Cowboys' quest to stay alive in the playoff hunt continues in Jerry World, as TJ called it. Bengals 4-8 Bengals at the Cowboys. Now, Adam mentioned before. Cincinnati. If I'm not mistaken, Burrow's having one of his better years.
He is.
Their offense is very
amazing,
good, and their defense just
Chase
sucks.
Brown.
Yeah. So, Adam, why don't we start with you? What are your thoughts on this one?
This is tough because the way the Bengals have been, they should be in the playoffs. They should be one of the highest seeds in the playoffs.
Yep.
We all knew that division was going to be extremely competitive heading into the season. I would have expected the Browns to be at the bottom, not the Bengals. This team should be better.
They are. The Browns are at the bottom. Yeah.
Browns are at the bottom. Yeah.
But it should be the three teams from the AFC North that should be getting in.
True.
It should be the Steelers. The Steelers are playing way better than I thought they would. But it should be the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Bengals. All three should be in the playoffs, fighting with the Bengals finally getting out of the division to show what they can do. Bengals win against the Cowboys, and Burrow's going to continue to make an outside case for MVP.
Okay, Troy, how about you?
This is hard for me because, most people either love Cowboys or you hate them, right? But I'm not in that situation because I have family members that are Cowboy fans. So it kind of gives me a little bit of a love-hate relationship with them. But that being said, I think the Bengals sneak this out. This is going to be a weird game. There's going to be some weird defensive scores in this game, and stuff's going to be and the line's at 49.5, and I think it's going to go way over that. Give me Bengals 40-36, something weird like that.
Okay, who's favorite? What's the line right now for this one?
Cincinnati 5.5.
Oh, Cincinnati 5. Wow, holy crap. Okay, all right, TJ, what are your thoughts?
Well, we already know I'm going to go Dallas, but
Yeah,
I'm going to say this right now. And this was a guy who I said something last year to you guys, and then this year I really haven't talked about him. DeMarion Overshown.
Yeah, good player.
Is a stud at linebacker. He's replacing Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, and Sean Lee.
Yep.
Wasn't he a defensive lineman coming out of college?
He was not. He was a free safety that bulked up to become a middle linebacker.
Yeah, I remember you talking about him, TJ, because I wanted the Bills to take him, to be honest.
He's
Yes.
a rookie, right?
Yeah.
Out of Texas.
No,
No,
he's
Texas.
a second
Texas.
year. Second year out of Texas.
Yep.
Okay, I thought I remember doing research on him last year.
He's going to be the one to take over this game. He's going to put pressure on Burrows. Now, do I think he's going to take over the game and make that what it is? No. I think what's going to happen is they're going to find the defense that we've been looking for all season. It'll be a very close game. I'm going to take the under on this massively, and I'm going to say it's going to be a 13-10 game. I think it's going to be all field goals.
Whoa.
Wow. Okay. All right, Steve. Is
You
Steve
know,
there? Oh, there you go.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I was looking while I was waiting my turn at the Bengals' schedule throughout the season. And once again, we have another team that you look at their games. I mean, they lost to the Patriots by 6. They lost to the Chiefs by 1. They lost to the Commanders by 5. They lost to the Ravens by 3. So once again, we have another team that if a couple games went the different direction, they're leading the AFC North right now.
Or if they had a freaking defense.
Yeah.
But, teams can win without a defense if they run the score up. I mean, if you put one.
Well, they've tried. Haven't they
Right.
scored like 40 points? Like how many times?
Yeah, Detroit the last couple games with all the injuries.
I mean, think about the last week against the Steelers. It was a 44-38 Steelers win. The Bengals almost put up 40 points against the Steelers, and they still lost.
Yep.
That being said, Mike McCarthy is still in save his ass mode. This is not done yet because I still think there's a chance he is not in Dallas after this season. At the same time, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are on the fantasy.
Oh,
I think we lost you, Steve.
are you there?
Steve.
Steve.
Oh
I keep
no!
losing him.
Oh, okay.
There, you're back. You're
Am I
back.
still alive, or am I? Have I
back,
lost?
you're back.
Yeah, no, you're
I'm
back.
back.
You're back now.
I'm
You're
back. I'm sorry. This is backup of backup equipment. But here's the deal. I think this is going to be a great game. I think the Cowboys are going to pull it off, but I'm taking the other direction and I'm saying this is going to go over because I think it's going to turn into a touchdown fest, especially if, I think Cincinnati's going to put up a lot of points, but I think Dallas is going to have to find a way to match it. And as I said, McCarthy is not done yet, but he's close to being done. So he's got to win games like this one.
Okay. All right. And I also think Dallas is gonna somehow squeak this out. But I can't agree with TJ on the 13-10. That's just wild to me. But you know what? I've also learned that TJ has said some crazy shit in the past that we've all made fun of him for, and he was exactly right. So maybe it wouldn't shock me if he did.
It's that Old Bay. It's the Old Bay coming off them ships over here in the Chesapeake Bay that I get off of.
I thought Old Bay wasn't the seasoning they like down there.
Oh, it's not. It's J.O. Spice, my friend.
Yeah.
Old Bay is just tanker fuel rust.
I'll say 35 or 38-31 Dallas. Okay. So real quick because I know Adam, you're not a college football guy, but I want to before we jump into the college playoff stuff, and we'll just touch on it briefly because I want to get, especially I know TJ is big into college football, and I know Steve follows it. Troy, I don't know if you followed as much, but
a little bit.
But here's a question that everybody can answer, including you, Adam. You know, one of the big things over the weekend was were all the fights that we saw. The let's mark our, put our flag on the logo and all that kind of crap.
Let's piss on our tree. Let's mark our territory.
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard so many. It's been interesting to listen to all the feedback from whether it's fans or experts, on in sports talk and stuff. And I've heard it. People talk about from, hey, maybe if Ohio State showed the same passion they showed when Michigan planted their flag, then they wouldn't have lost the game to begin with, and all that kind of stuff. It does remind me real quick about a month ago when the Texans came to Lambeau to play the Packers. Joe Mixon scored a touchdown, went to jump in the stands at Lambeau, right? And he found a Texan fan that was right by the end zone there, right by the field. Went to jump up, and one of the Packer fans went and pushed his helmet down, like shoved him back down in the field. And basically like, hey, you don't do that stuff in our stadium. And I love the fact that the Packer fan did that. Had a lot of people. Apparently, the Packers took the guy out, talked to him, and did let him go back to his seats. But they were originally going to kick him out of the game. To me, you don't do that in someone else's stadium. But I understand the people who say, you know what, don't let them win the game, and they won't do that. So I want to go kind of just around the horn real quick. Adam, what are your thoughts on that? And because I know the NCAA came out with a lot of fines. I have a feeling they're going to come down, maybe if they haven't already, and maybe I missed it, maybe banning that from now on because of all the fights that came out, because some of those were pretty brutal. I mean, Ohio State, Michigan, that was what I saw was some pretty nasty
when you're getting police out there and putting pepper spray on kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Adam, what are your thoughts? Would you be in favor of NCAA banning it? Do you think it was blown out of proportion? What are your thoughts on it?
I would like young professionals to start acting like professionals. I know you're in your late teens and early 20s. I understand you're in college. Everyone's all riled. You get your college spirit. I'm cool with that. There's a way to have college spirit and taunt the other team. And I would expect nothing less from taunting. Please go taunt the opponent. There's no place for fighting. Zero. I have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to you being part of my swearing, a fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're in college. That is not an excuse. You are getting paid ridiculous amounts of money to go to most likely a freaking free ride to a school to get yourself an education. Act like a semi-competent young adult, please. Taunt the other opponent. Do a little dance in front of their head coach if you got to, and tell them that we just kicked your ass. But there's no need to throw punches. There's no need for pepper spray and bullshit. You want to plant fags at someone? I think it's childish. It's you guys having a little fun. That is harmless taunting. There's no need to take it to the level of hitting another player. None.
Okay, Troy, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree, and you don't want to be on the losing end of that, especially if it's on your home field and somebody planting their flag on your field. But you lost the game. You lost the game. I mean, it's at that point, whatever they want to do, they won the game. They can, as long as, like Adam said, you're not going out and punching people or doing anything violent. Okay, I mean, congratulations, you guys won. Have the field, go at it. I don't know. That was crazy. That was crazy. There was like 5 games that happened in or something like that. Just insane.
Something like that, yeah.
I like to see the passion. I do. I like to see the passion. But we can't get to the point where we're fighting and having to get cops involved and pepper spray and whatever else. Like, we've gone too far at that point. If you want to yell at them and say, hey, get that crap off our field, whatever, great. But we can't be throwing punches. We can't. We've gone too far. That's crazy.
Agreed.
Okay, TJ, what are your thoughts?
I think it's just the love of the game, and you go to those schools for certain games. So you go to Ohio State to play Michigan. You go to Michigan to play Ohio State and Michigan State. You go to Florida to play Miami or Florida State, something like that. And like everybody always has a slogan like beat whoever, or you have those countdown clocks of like whatever. Do I think that people overstepped this weekend? 100%. I mean, I've got kids that I've coached in youth leagues and who are in high school now who are going D2, D1, and they want to go to these massive rivalries. Planting a flag in the middle of somebody's field, yes, you own them for a year, whatever, cool. the fighting needs to stop because you have kids watching you. They want to become who you are in that uniform. Celebrate. Once you say good game, whatever, celebrate. If you want to plant a flag, cool. But don't stand there and have yourself open for somebody to cheap shot you or do something stupid. You got 5 minutes after you win, plant the flag, take a picture, go to your damn locker.
Can I also say real quick too, because I forgot to bring this up. I blame this just as much as like on ESPN and the media and everything too, because like TJ just said, you have little kids looking up to this, and you have kids that are in high school looking up to go. And what is ESPN and Fox Sports News and all they are is they're showing these fights and shit on the field. Like that's just as much the media's fault. Like, why are you showing that shit? Like, like take the cameras off of them. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna tell you, the biggest rivalry. It's not this weekend. It's next weekend. Army Navy. When Army or Navy loses to each other, you don't see punches thrown. Now, does Army do something to piss off Navy? Of course. A few years ago they stole Bill the Goat. They came here to Maryland, stole Bill the Goat, brought him to the stadium, returned him. I mean, but that's the small things that you laugh at, and you look back in history. It's great. But these other prestigious colleges that get more attention than just this one game, you have recruits that are flipping already because of what just happened this weekend. And it's like, I think, and Troy, I know that you've kind of followed Michigan as well. Michigan had five 4-star recruits, only signed 2 because they all dropped because of that fight. They didn't want to deal with that anymore. And where did they go? They went to Ohio State. I mean, that it hurts the program itself. I also, and I think, Aaron, you and I talked about this when you put it in the chat this week. The fines were given to the universities.
Mm-hmm.
No, give them to the coaches. The coaches are the ones that are supposed to hold you back.
Yep.
Prime example, look at the Texas A&M. Coaches got into it in the beginning of the game. That was it. Texas was going to go on Texas A&M, plant the flag. Sark literally stopped them because there were cops there, stopped them and said, get your ass back to the locker room. And what did Texas do? They walked off. Texas A&M had a couple of players watching them. They walked off, and they even tweeted, said, Texas had more class than any of these other schools.
Yep.
I agree. Another reason I don't like Sharon more, but whatever.
Steve.
Here's the thing. I've seen this from multiple levels. I mean, you've got a situation. You got a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, all these fines were levied from the conference level. The NCAA had nothing to do with any of this insanity. They, for some reason, college football seemed to keep a more hands-off profile. I mean, they don't even run. They run the 1AA, the FCS and below, but they kind of just leave it with this FBS. It's a totally different atmosphere. But I've seen it at high school where you've got, it's just these kids get in a situation where they've got something happening that they've not had happen before, and they're lining up against rivals from other neighborhoods, from other areas that they know that they've done 7-on-7s with and all this other stuff, and it boils over. And the issue comes down to, how were they trained growing up?
Yeah, good point.
How was the mechanics of the game taught to them? Were they taught to take the other kid's head off and then get that mentality of just, pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and then you get to the college level and it just boils over to that point? I mean, this year has been crazy. The number of field stormings, the number of goalposts taken down, the number of things that have happened. And then this last weekend, it was the weekend of fights. I mean, Georgia Tech is supposed to be called clean, old-fashioned hate. Clean, old-fashioned hate. It's the way it's supposed to be played. 8 overtimes. Did Georgia Tech and Georgia go to blows after Georgia pulled that one off? No, they respected each other. And the other thing to keep in mind, too, is that once that final whistle sounds, that's the end of the officials' authority over that game. They go off the field. Once the clock hits 3 zeros or 4 zeros in the fourth quarter, that is it. They are not responsible for after game issues. And so I think it falls also on all of these schools. If they're that concerned about flag planting and stuff, they put so much security around the stands so people don't get onto the field. Put some security on the field. Put them around the 50. Put them around the logo. And basically tell the schools, you can go anywhere you want. You just can't come here. Because that's what happened, is it was everybody going to the logos to prove their point that their school was better than the other school.
Yeah.
That's where this all, and that's just not the way college football should be played. You know, we go back to, who the heck was it that was running for the star in Dallas? And
That was T.O.
I mean, I get it. There's pride. You beat an opponent that you shouldn't beat, or something happens. But we just have to find a way to celebrate. I'll give you an example, and this is not involving teams, but down in Texas, there was a high school football team that won their first, I think it was their first ever playoff game, or their first playoff game in a long time. And they had the kids sitting in the one end zone in seating. Well, the kids are like, hey, we're going to storm the field after the final whistle. The head coach of the winning team saw the storming happening and literally got out of the handshake line, stood in front of the kids and yelled at them and pointed at them and told them to get their you-know-what's back into the seats. You know what those kids did? They hightailed it back into the seats.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's...
I agree with you 100%, Steve, and I agree with what TJ said too as well. Like, the coaches need to be held to a higher standard to keep their kids in line.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I would agree. All right,
I mean,
guys, since we're hold on, TJ. I was just going to say, since we're running really long, instead of we'll do a college football playoff preview, like a bigger one next week.
After the conference championships.
After the conference championships. But I do want to ask, just kind of go around the table, and Adam, you're probably not going to watch any of them, but are there, TJ, I'll start with you. not to single you out there, Adam, but
no, it's fine. I have planned on watching zero.
TJ,
I'm
and
also
I think
doing ridiculous amounts of Counter-Strike casting the next 3 days straight. So I haven't had time to watch literally probably nothing. I'm not even watching Thursday Night Football until my casts are over.
There you go. Okay. So, TJ, we'll start with you. First, I'll let you finish whatever thought you were going to have there, and then give me your thoughts on the SEC championship, Texas and Georgia.
So I was just going to say what Steve said was 100%. Kids in high school start to rush the field. High school coaches are apparently more mature than college coaches, which really surprises me. And these guys get paid big bucks to do that. There's actually 2 championship games I'm watching.
Okay.
SEC championship, of course, because Texas and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last time I actually came on here was when Texas played Georgia. So I hope this is not a repeat of when I came on here and we got our butts just completely handed to us. One, I think Texas learned from that game. Does it truly show in the opponents that they've played recently? Not really. I mean, maybe the Texas A&M game because that was a big rivalry, but that's just you want to play for the glory and the bragging rights of the state. Carson Beck looks like an anemic bastard that needs to just get snapped on the 50-yard line. I'm hoping that Texas learned from this and they can go out and literally, Charles, if you're watching this, sick them. F you, my dude. We're going to put a leash on them dogs and we're going to walk the dogs. And Bevo's going to run over Uga like he should have in the Sugar Bowl a few years back. I think this is going to be a hell of a game. I think this is the SEC championship everybody wanted to see. I give Georgia props. They've won national titles. Cool, whatever. Yes, in this decade, cool. I'm going to say this right now. Georgia has nothing on Texas right now. They almost lost to Georgia Tech. That should have been massively embarrassing. And Texas ran through the SEC besides Georgia to win this. So I think Texas will go 1-for-1 in the SEC championship, being first year, and it's going to be a great game. The other championship I'm going to be watching, Tulane versus Army. Army's first year in the conference, they make the championship. This is going to be amazing for that conference because, one, they're losing some really good teams into that conference, but they're gaining some of those, FCS the FCS like Division I teams that are coming up.
Yep.
They're picking those guys up. I think this is going to be a real test for Army. Tulane is a great team. They came here to Navy and waxed the hell out of them 35-0. That was a very embarrassing game. But I'm going to tell you right now, if they can do that to Navy, they can do the same thing to Army. Army really hasn't shown me much this year. They lost to Notre Dame. So did Navy. But I think this is, those are the two games I'm watching. And I honestly think Texas SEC, and I'm going to give it to Army. Army's going to win the American Conference right there.
And that is a on ABC on Friday night, that Army Tulane game. So at least you can, you can some good football on both Friday and Saturday night. So here, Troy, are you going to be checking out any of the championship games over the weekend?
I'm going to try to, check into all these games here, but the one that really just stands out to me is the Big Ten and Oregon just coming in and dominating year one in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just my Penn State hate coming through or what it is, but I really think Oregon's going to take Penn State behind the woodshed. And big game James Franklin, whenever there's a big game, this guy just sucks every time. And I don't expect it to change this week. I think Oregon's going to blow them out. And I wonder what that's going to do to their seeding, to be honest with you.
And I just had the seedings up. I think Penn State is seeded at I
think they're 5, right?
I think they might be 5, something like that. But
so I don't know. I think that's going to throw them on the bottom half of the rankings, though. I think if they do get blown out of this, I think they still get in, but I would not be surprised to see them 10 to 12 somewhere in that range at that point.
So would they knock? What was interesting is I saw Indiana, I think, is number 9. And
I don't think because I don't think they'd still get in over Indiana. I think they'd still get in over Indiana. But I do think it would really hurt their playoff seeding for sure.
For sure. Well, I think it should too.
I agree with TJ. I think Texas comes out, and I think they win this game convincingly. I'm not going to say they blow them out, but I think they win this game convincingly. And I'm excited, actually. The game that really stands out to me is actually Boise State UNLV. I think this is going to be a fun game. I think this is going to be a real fun game.
Yep.
And I'm really looking forward to that game. That's the one that, I'm in Big Ten country, so that's why Oregon Penn State really stands out to me. But Boise State UNLV, for not being on the West Coast at all, I'm really excited to see that game. So
yeah, for sure. All right, Steve, how about you?
Well, let me just give a disclaimer that I'm going to be spending some family time this Saturday. So my watching of these games is going to be extremely limited. So it's going to be a lot of following and or trying to listen. But I will say that my intriguing game is actually the ACC game because SMU has come in and done what Oregon's done to the Big Ten, which is blow everybody's doors off in their first year in the conference, which a lot of people had predicted was going to happen. There was a lot of folks that said SMU is going to come in and not just, they're not going to be that first year get their feet wet in the conference like it unfortunately happened with Stanford and a little bit to Cal as well. But SMU was going to come out of the gates and they were going to make a statement, and they made a statement. And honestly, I'm much more intrigued by this game. I probably would not have been excited if Miami had made it over Clemson, but I think Clemson, is going to be a great opponent. I mean, I want to see how Dabo matches up against SMU. It's a game that's going to prove a lot for both of these teams. And it's going to be SMU going up against one of the traditional ACC. Not to say Miami's not, but Miami's not been in the Clemson is an ACC team. When you think of ACC, you think Clemson. Old time ACC. So that one, and then the other one is that Big 12 championship game, Iowa State and Arizona State, because they have to take a team from the Big 12. And right now it's Arizona State. But what the heck happens if Iowa State wins? I mean, Arizona State's going to probably be out then, because I don't think the Big 12 is going to get 2 teams into the final 12. So this is a chance for Arizona State to continue saying, hey, we belong, even though we're probably going to be the 12th seed because it's where we have to go. Or Iowa State's going to say, hey, we're trying to, shake things up a little bit and give the CFP committee a little bit of thinking to do. Do they seed Iowa State at 12, or do we mix something else up?
Is that the same argument in the ACC too, though? With Clemson, if Clemson wins that, is Clemson in and SMU's not then?
I would say SMU stays in. That's the problem, because SMU's body of work, I mean, they are a top 4 seed right now. I don't see them going, in the language that the CFP committed about, if you're not playing this week, you're still in. Like, what the heck? You've got these teams that have an extra week. I'm sorry if you didn't make a championship game and your season has ended per se, but these other teams are getting a chance to improve their body of record. Like, it's the same thing that happens with the March Madness. You get a big team that loses in the first or second round of their conference tournament, and they're sitting on the sideline, and you get these teams from the middle of the pack that start winning games and win conference championships. And then you see on Selection Sunday, the next 4 and the first 4 out, and you're like, wow, those teams were locks if these upsets hadn't happened. And I mean, are we going to see the same thing happen come then when the final rankings are released here after all these championship games and the dust settles?
Well, and I will say to that point, they were talking about that this morning as I was driving into work, and the guys I was listening to, of course, talking about Alabama, and one of them, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, and TJ being on, in the Northeast over there, you might be a little more on the East Coast, I should say. Steve Zabin, does that name ring a bell? He used to be a national sports talk host.
Bring his name up, Aaron. I've been a Zabe fan for many years. I'll leave it at that.
I loved him when he was out in the DC area, and now he's in Milwaukee, and he does a morning show every morning out of Milwaukee, but he's a big SEC guy. He's a big, like, he loves the SEC. The SEC is dominant. The SEC is kind of like, him and Charlie would get along, pretty well. And they were talking about the whole Alabama thing and the fact that, these guys are trying to get Alabama in. And one of the guys on the show is from Iowa. So he's an Iowa Hawkeye fan. And he was saying, I think the SEC is a little down this year compared to what it has been. And one of the things Zabin brought up, and he brought up a good point, even though I don't necessarily like the point, but it's not wrong, is this is a TV show. I mean, it's, as much, especially college football, you don't have 64 teams now, you have 12. And if they have a chance to put an Alabama at Notre Dame in the first round and can, have ratings through the roof, are you going to, like, let's say it comes down to, I'm going to throw out Alabama versus Indiana. Okay, well, Indiana had a better record than Alabama did, but obviously their strength of schedule was like 112th and Alabama's was like 55th or whatever. So, are some of these decisions going to be made looking at it like, do fans want to watch Indiana at Notre Dame, or do they want to watch Alabama at Notre Dame? That kind of thing, which I would feel bad for an Indiana, because I think they've played amazing, and with the one stumble against Ohio State, which that first half they played very well, but at the same time I could see them putting in an Alabama over, and I'm just throwing out Indiana there. I'm not saying that's going to happen to them, but I could see them putting in an Alabama as kind of a legacy pick. Versus, okay, do they deserve to be one of the top 12 teams this year? And that's going to be one of the interesting things that we see, because to your point, Steve, I heard a lot of people say whoever wins that Clemson SMU game is going to be in, and the other one's going to be out. Even though, yeah, your point is valid that SMU probably should be in no matter what. But if Clemson upsets them, they're probably not going to be in. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's that'll be the interesting thing that we can talk about next week. As we leave, guys, I'm gonna skip the whole 4 minutes on high, but I want to ask you guys something that we let off the show or near sort of let off the show with the whole NFL MVP talk. Let's finish it with some quick Heisman Trophy talk. Travis Hunter, is there anybody else that you think could come close, or does he already have the Heisman locked up? Adam, I want to start with you because since you kind of follow,
he's had the Heisman locked up. It's
okay.
Him and Ashton Genty. Stop it.
Well, okay, but so does Genty? You think he has a chance, or
Genty has the same chance that Barkley does at MVP?
Okay, all right, Troy. What are your thoughts?
No, I think it's Hunter's to lose. I think I don't see anybody. I tell you what, like I think if Genty does win it, I worry about his long-term prognosis in the NFL because it means they probably have way overused him at that point.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's Hunter's.
That's kind of like the Badgers did for years with all the different running backs, whether it was Ron Dane or anyone else. They just ran the hell out of them, and then they get to the NFL and they're all gassed out. TJ, what are your thoughts? Travis Hunter, anybody else?
Travis Hunter's overrated. Ashton Genty for president.
Okay. Did you say for president?
For president.
Nice. Okay, Steve, how about Steve,
once again, we're going with my theme throughout the season of Coach Prime really made things like a spectacle in Colorado last year, but this year it's actually been quality football and it's not just a smoke show. So I think that Hunter has proven himself, and it's not Coach Prime out there shoving somebody into the spotlight that doesn't deserve it. He deserves it, and he will win the high unless something goes terribly off the rails or somebody just blows the doors off. But it's going to be Hunter's, as Bill Folks have said, Hunter's to lose.
I think it's Hunter, Genty, Shador in that order, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, we're going to wrap it up here since we've hit the 2-hour mark, and it was great having everybody on. We got a lot of different viewers throughout the show, and everybody enjoy the college football. Enjoy week 4. Was it week 14 now of the NFL? I
believe it is. Yep. Week 14.
Last 5 weeks of the season.
That's right. Yeah. Thank God. I'm so sick of the bias. Anyway. All right. Everybody enjoy the football for the week. Enjoy if you're into other sports. I know we kind of have football monopolizing this, but let's face it. I mean, we all love football. So everybody have a great weekend. Adam, enjoy your casting and try to catch some football. And we'll talk to everybody next week.
Bye, see you, boys.
This shirt don't fit like it used to, and I need another notch on my belt.